Hello, welcome everyone to today's The Engineer Whisperer podcast. Happy to have you all here joining us this Thursday. And today, I'm super excited to be here with my guest, Sumita. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Andrea. So excited to be here.
I was looking forward to sitting down with you today. So, as we begin, just for those who haven't met you yet, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm an engineering director, have been in the engineering industry for about 15 plus years now. Started off my career as an engineer, did my graduate degree here in America, and then moved here about 20 years ago and have been here since then. So that's kind of my trajectory. And in the middle of all this, there have been interesting events like I was a founding engineer at a company for a bit, and then I went on to becoming an engineering manager and now currently a director at a company called CarGurus based out of Boston. Um, and my husband and I, and we have a 3-year-old girl, and we live here in the city. And we love taking her to all sorts of apple farms and nature walks. So she's very much an outdoorsy girl because of us. So we enjoy that.
I can totally relate. We just took my daughter to a pumpkin farm here in the Seattle area. So that was a big hit. Well, this is why I wanted to invite you here to you went through so many transitions and wanted to as we were talking and preparing for this podcast, you shared something with me that really caught my attention. This difference of being in a culture and then setting a culture. So I would like to hear more about that and in the context of you becoming a founder engineer. So tell us more.
Yes, definitely. So there was definitely a pivotal moment in my career where I could have become a principal engineer versus an engineering manager type a decision that was in my mind because I had several years of technical experience and I really enjoyed being in tech. But the point that really made me choose between a path of management and a principal engineer path is to be able to define a culture, to be able to set the culture, to be able to move the culture to be a more giving culture, to be able to more accepting, more open, and be able to set an example for all those things. And also provide a welcoming culture so that you can welcome people of all sorts and be open and diverse in your hiring culture in all forms of your organization levels.
Now,
So that was my point.
so Sumita, most principal engineers don't think about this at the beginning as they take that. So I'm just gonna call everyone out that maybe the first thought was, okay, I'm gonna get higher pay, I'm gonna get more credit, I'm gonna be more in a prestigious role. But you, and this is what struck me interesting about you, but you said no, for me it was about culture. So where is this drive coming from for you?
I think it was the drive that I wanted to lift people up as I rose up. That was always been the motto in my life, that I want to keep as many doors as open for other people. And also because I have a 3-year-old girl, that my motive in life is to her not break any glass barriers. Everything should be as broken for her as much as we can. And the way to do that is by doing it all together.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wow. To everything to be broken. I love how you said that concept. Let's break it now for others so that those who come after us, our children and then cousins and friends and so forth, it's gonna be all open and broken. All right. Well, in your transition then, how did you define a culture? And then, oh, let's keep that question. So what was maybe one thing, one story that you can share us as you were embarking on that transition of defining the culture?
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed doing at my company where I was a founding engineer of was essentially being a volunteering opportunities for everyone and making sure the team actually has time to volunteer. So we went to Cradles for Crayons, which is an organization here in Boston. We went to like Pine Street Inn, which is also an organization for the homeless veterans in Boston. So things like that, making sure that everyone in the team actually has takes time to participate. Usually, engineering sprints are so busy that we do not account for those things. So, making sure that you set an example by going to these events and by supporting people and by showing the team that it is okay to take time to help people, and actually it affects helping the team as well, because you have a lot of team bonding there. You get to talk to each other, you get to know what the other person's background is, what is their backstory. So
Yes. Yes. Are those moments when you stand next to someone and I don't know, maybe you pack crayons, pack packages, backpacks, so forth, and you strike up a conversation. Now I'm thinking that you must have run into some challenges as well. Tell us what was maybe a challenging part of this transition for you.
challenging part of this transition was coming directly face to face with your customer, because as an engineer usually you don't talk to your customer directly, whereas as a founding engineer that changes it for you. You are talking to the customer, you are getting feedback, and sometimes the feedback is not quite what you wanted to hear, but you should hear it. So being able to roll with the punches and being able to take that feedback, incorporate it, and going right back to the customer with like, hey, we fixed this, is also important. And that's proven useful to me to date. I use it today.
So, how did you move from not being in front of a customer to standing in front of a customer? What new skills you learned or what mindset you took on?
I think the most important mindset was to have a thick skin and not take things personally. It's not directed at you, it's directed at, like, okay, this will make my life easier. And also remembering that we are always putting the customer first. Customer obsession is a real important aspect as an engineer that we sometimes forget, as to like, okay, I have to chase the next new tech, I have to apply the next new LLM. Sure, all those things are 100% valid. At the same time, what is the business problem that we are trying to solve? Always start with a why, and then the rest of the things will fall in place.
What I'm also hearing is that you developed a new skill to understand the customer too. Because
Yes.
what I've experienced is when you say to sit down and have a conversation with the customer, is you have to listen differently.
Yes.
You almost like have to listen and read between the lines of what the customers are saying and then translate it into the engineering language later. But it's first understanding the meaning, as you said, what is the underlying problem issue that the customer has and is trying to convey to us, so that we then find a problem as principal engineer and then the whole team.
Yes.
So how did you develop that new kinds of listening and understanding?
I think it starts by practice and by practicing mindful listening. When I was a new engineering manager, I used to have a sticker on my laptop that basically said, listen actively. So it was a reminder to me as I start every conversation that I look at the camera, and it was always there, because that's something you get by practice.
I see. And that brings another question of, if you learn to listen that way, then your communication skills improved. So, what was something new that you picked up as a principal engineer that helped you when you were with the team? Now, not with the customer, but with your team and with the organization, that helped you um, to better your skill and your leadership?
Um, I would say the skills that I developed as an engineer definitely transitioned over well as I moved into management, because most of those skills are transferable. The skills that you really need to learn as you move into management specifically are how to listen well, communication skills, how to do conflict management, how do you listen to multiple stakeholders and still be able to make a path. And three, as an engineer, you're used to seeing results immediately. You build something, you see the results. Whereas in management, it's more like a cruise ship. You turn a cruise ship very, very slowly. It's deliberate, it's slow, but it's worth the wait. And that was my gain.
I see. So, playing the long-term game. So then what kept you being in the game? As you know, the results are not coming yet, or sometimes they're not showing. Because we all have those days when we just kind of want to see the result. We just want a sign of verification that whatever we're doing is working. So what was that for you?
I think having short-term wins and being able to negotiate the short-term wins as to like, okay, in this month, this is my primary aim. Let's see if we can get that small win in, right? Like being able to collaborate with a stakeholder you have had difficulties working with, being able to establish a working relationship with someone new in the organization, getting to listen to them and knowing what their pain points are. So these are small wins that you can essentially add up to and have a working sheet of all your wins so that on the really terrible days, you can open that up and read it.
Oh, I love that, a working sheet of the small wins. Yes, yes. I did something similar too when I was in corporate world, is collecting my yeah, my wins, we can say it that way, my small achievements, um, so that I can use it for myself and then take it to the performance reviews. So I can remind myself and my boss of, yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember that? So I resonate with that. So, Sumita, um, it, if you look back at your transition and you would pick one and maybe the most valuable mindset shift for you that you adopted through that transition, what would that be?
Um, I think being okay with not being the person who has all the answers. Um, because when you are a team lead and a tech lead, you usually have answers figured out. You know the solution space and you grow there as a result of your tech skills. But once you move into management and doing other things for the organization, those tech skills are not going to be that 10 out of 10 and being okay with that.
So how were you okay? Tell us more. What tools you used, what resources you used to remember?
I think it's mostly a mindset change, knowing that this is okay and this is a part of the game and this is the part
Okay.
of the transition process. Being self-aware that yes, you cannot keep up both because you always want to um, be that 10 out of 10 and it's not possible. You have
Mm.
That's a point where you have to trade off one versus the other and instead focus on being like the best engineering manager or the best director you can be.
I see. So you just shift. You just shift from being 10 over here to being still 10, just in a different way. That's what I'm hearing. And then that awareness that I made the conscious decision and I committed to leadership. So I'm on this path and let's continue, learn and develop now in this lane. Oh, I see. Well, thank you very much. Thanks very much for sharing, because I think so many of us hear that it's okay to not have the answers. But I think doing it, living it, and having that mindset is the hardest to really adopt that transition.
Yes.
So the more we hear it from others, that others have done it too, and they have, survived through it. I think the more it inspires us to keep doing it in our lives. So thank you very much. Thank you. Well, as we are closing, getting close to our closing, I would like to give you the mic back. What's one thing that you would like us to walk away with from this podcast? Maybe a concept, a thought, an idea.
Um, I would just say take calculated risks. Just because something is never done before, or you're afraid that, oh, I've never broached this before. Is it for me? I would say take the risk, take the chance. You will never know how it'll turn out just because you've never done it before. So take calculated risks.
Mm. Yes, yes. I love that. That helped me in my life too, knowing the difference between calculated and uncalculated risks. Just that. Well, thank you very much for being here today, Sumita. It was a pleasure sitting down and speaking with you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for having me.